Oh, yeah.
Welcome. Today is Yutas Kislev. On this day of the Chag HaGeula, the Rosh Hashanah L'Chassidus, the Yahrzeit of the Maggid of Mezritch, we're starting a new class, the afternoon/evenings, depending on the time of the year, but between Mincha and Ma'ariv, it's going to be in the laws of Shabbos, from the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. The Alter Rebbe, Hilchos Shabbos, laws of Shabbos.
Oh, law of Shabbos.
The Alter Rebbe's name is Shnei Er. Shnei Er means two lights. The light representing the secrets of the Torah, the internal part of the Torah, known as Nister, and the light of the revealed parts of Torah. He illuminated both. Of course, writing the Tanya, which is the hidden parts of Torah, the Nister, and the revealed parts of Torah is the Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law that he wrote as per instruction of the Maggid of Mezritch, his teacher. Let's begin. This is Chelik Beis of Shulchan Aruch, which is about Hilchos Shabbos. We'll start from the beginning. Siman Reish Mem Beis. Lihizoyer b'kavod Shabbos uvayud gimel seifim. To be careful in the respect, the honor of Shabbos, and this has 13 paragraphs in there. Aleph. Shnei devarim nisparashu b'Shabbos al dei hanevim. There are two things which have been explained to us through the prophets regarding Shabbos. V'hem kavod v'eineg. That's honor and enjoyment. Pleasure, rather. Shenemar v'karas lo Shabbos eineg. You should call the Shabbos pleasure. The ikra min haTorah. Now, the main aspect of this is really biblical. Shabbos ubechal mikroi kodesh. Shabbos is called kodesh, holy, as it says, "Vayem hashvi Shabbos Shabbosayin mikra kodesh." On the seventh day, Shabbos Shabbosayin is called kodesh. Umikra kodesh. What does it's called or it's referred to as holy mean? Pirshu chachamim. Our sages explained the kadshay, to sanctify it, ulechabdai, and to honor it, bichsus nikia, with clean clothing. So a person has Shabbos clothing. Uleangai, how do you give it pleasure? How do you give it that pleasure on Shabbos? So honor is clothing, pleasure is food and drink. There's another opinion that says, when you say you have to sanctify it, it means that you're prohibiting the doing of certain acts, certain things that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. There's an opinion that the main thing of sanctifying Shabbos means that you refrain from certain activities. You can't light a fire, you can't do certain things, you can't cook. There's restrictions on Shabbos. That's sanctifying Shabbos. The respect, the honor, the pleasure of Shabbos, that, according to this opinion, is rabbinic. It's not biblical. However, when it comes to the joy and the pleasure of Yom Tov, there's an opinion that says that the Eineg is the Rabbanan. Now, it's a Yesh Emrim. The Alter Rebbe first says that it is biblical. Learning it from the word Mechubad. Now, not to be confused with the pleasure and the joy of Shabbos, of Yom Tov. On Yom Tov, you have to have food and drink. It is biblical. There is no opinion that says it's only rabbinic. In the further in Shulchan Aruch. Regardless, however, whether you go with the opinion that it's biblical to enjoy Shabbos with food and drink, or you go with the opinion that it's rabbinic, you need to be very careful with these things. Because the words of our sages are more strict than the words that are biblical. It's a very important principle. People make the mistake and they say, well, is it rabbinic or is it biblical? If it's biblical, so I'm in. If it's rabbinic, I don't know. Yeah, be a little more lenient. God forbid, right? But the truth is the other way around. That we find many, many examples of this throughout Jewish law, throughout halacha, that we have to be extra careful when it comes to rabbinic things. Anyone who brings pleasure into Shabbos, if you're careful about it, you make sure that you enjoy the Shabbos. The Kabbalah says specifically what is his reward, what's he getting for being careful about pleasure on Shabbos. Then he's going to have the pleasure on Hashem, which means a very high level of spiritual delight. But Divrei Chazal and our sages tell us that a person who is careful, listen to this, about Einek Shabbos, that he makes sure that he enjoys himself on Shabbos, they forgive him on all of his sins. Why? Because you enjoyed Shabbos. Eating, drinking. The Nitzal Medina Shal Gehenim, and he gets saved from the judgment of purgatory, of hell, punishment.
What about sleeping?
So we're going to get to that. But the right now what he's saying about Eineg, a pleasure, is eating and drinking. And a person that does it, the reward is great. Whether you look at it because it's rabbinic or it's biblical, you got to be careful about it. But you should know that it's a very big reward. You don't have many places that we're told what the reward is, right? It says in Torah that if you honor your parents, so long life is one of the rewards, right? If you chase away the mother bird before taking the babies, it's long life. Right? You make a makeh, make a fence. There's certain things that Torah tells you it's long life. But sorry, not makeh. But the certain things that Torah gives you, the reward tells you what it is. Here in Shulchan Aruch and Code of Jewish Law, he's telling you from the very beginning that when it comes to Shabbos, not only is it pleasurable, but there's a reward for this pleasure. Base. How do you have pleasure on Shabbos? In the times of the sages of the Talmud, they would have pleasure, they would enjoy Shabbos with big fish. And this type of a dish. In those days, these types of food, this very large fish, was considered to be enjoyment. That was a delicacy. That was pleasure. In every place, according to his custom, each place has their, in certain areas, fish is not a big deal. It's all they have. I'm sure you go to Thailand or other places like that.
No, because you haven't on the mountain, there is no fish.
There's no fish. So then it is a delicacy because you don't have it.
Yeah.
But in any case, there are places where he's clarifying that the times of the Gemara, so fish was the way that you give pleasure to Shabbos. It's a delicacy. It's that's what you enjoy. You probably don't have it every day. But each place, according to its minhag, they should enjoy the Shabbos with food and with drinks, which are considered to be eineg for Shabbos. This is a very important statement. There's no requirement, says the Alter Rebbe, to eat meat or drink wine on Shabbos. Normally speaking, for most cases, the majority of people, they have yeshlem eineg be'achilas basar, with eating meat, more than other drinks. A typical person, most people, they enjoy meat more than other foods. And that's why it became the way that you bring pleasure to Shabbos. But halachically, do you have to have it with meat? If you hate meat, you really don't want it, you don't need to. Most people drinking wine, they have the pleasure more than other drinks. Therefore, they should increase in drinking and eating meat and drinking wine based on what they could afford. Okay, and now we're going to talk a little bit about expenses of Shabbos. Okay, we're talking here about meat and wine, and not just meat and wine. We're saying each place according to its custom. In certain places, meat is abundant. In certain places, there's a delicacy. So each place according to its thing. But normally, normally meat and wine is considered to be a delicacy. And that's what we have on Shabbos. People have chicken as well. It's also considered to be fleishiks. However, the concept, and this is what he's going to talk about next, is how much to spend on Shabbos. What if you don't have? Right? It's saying that every Shabbos I should have some special dish, and I should enjoy it, and so on. How does this work? Anyone that increases and has a lot of and prepares a lot of food, good food, that's praiseworthy. It's not just, okay, I had my piece of meat and I'm done. Get into it, have a lot of it, prepare for it. This is if he could afford it. Okay? But if right now, even if he has no cash, he has stuff. And in those days, when you have possessions, there's no credit cards. Thank God. It was possessions. And when you have these possessions, you could go and you could collateralize them, you could give them to somebody, whether you're selling it or you're giving it as a collateral, and you're getting money in exchange. So what you should do is, even if you don't have cash, go borrow money against stuff that you have, merchandise or property, whatever it is, Hashem will already find for you a way to pay it back. But listen what he says. It's not just free borrowing here. This is what our sages tell us. Hashem said.
So what's the limit?
He's going to say what the limit is. It's not a unlimited credit.
Yeah.
There's a max. Lavu alai, you should borrow at my expense. Lani payday, I'll pay. Kiloimar, which means she'ein heitzah Shabbos v'yamtiv eila b'cheshbon hakitzva sheniksa le'bereish hashana. The expense of Shabbos does not go into the account of the money which is designated for him in Rosh Hashanah. The muzayin is called Hashanah for food for the whole year. We have a concept that on Rosh Hashanah, the new year, Hashem decides how much money each person is going to have.
Masechet Betzah.
Huh?
Masechet Betzah.
Yeah. But when it comes to your expenses for Shabbos, then we say this is not included. If you spent more, you'll earn more. Our sages tell us all of a person's food and all of his expenses are designated before Rosh Hashanah. They decide for him in heaven. Kama yistaker, how much is he going to earn? In this year. In order to have food. And all the other needs that he has. Besides expenses of Shabbos Yantiv, in heaven they don't have an account, a line item, Shabbos expenses. We're giving this person for the year that amount. For your food, for your needs. It's been decided how much you're going to make. You have to earn it, you have to work for it, you have to try, but it's set. However, when it comes to expenses of Shabbos food, these type of things, we don't say that it's set.
Tishrei.
Huh?
Tishrei. Torah, Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, Yamim Tovim.
Beautiful.
Mitishrei, Tishrei, Chutz Mitishrei.
Very nice. Beautiful. Thank you. So, Ela im meisif beitzah Shabbos yamtiv meisifin lei. If he added more expenses for Shabbos, he decided he wants to get a better wine, he wants to get better meat, he wants to really enjoy the Shabbos, they give him more money in heaven. So he was destined to make an X amount. Hashem will take care of him to have more. However, here's the catch. Avol. Im ein leichafeitzim lemashkina. If he does not have any objects, possessions that he could collateralize. We started off this paragraph saying that if you don't have enough money, you could borrow for the expenses of Shabbos, right? Only if you have possessions. Take it, bring it to some pawn shop or however it worked back then, and they'll lend you money based on that. And don't worry, Hashem will find a way to pay back. That's what it means, borrow against Hashem. Hashem will pay you. It's not in your budget, how much you could have. It's Shabbos, and Hashem will pay you. But if you don't have any of these possessions, you don't have anything that you could borrow against, the mashkram l'frei, and you have some way to pay back, loy yilva, do not borrow money just because it's Shabbos. Hashem will pay back. Because he does not have his own money or possessions that he could use to borrow against. He has no requirement to add in the expenses of Shabbos more than he could afford. So if somebody has a certain amount of money, this is what they're accustomed to eating, and they find a way to increase a little bit on Shabbos to have more and have pleasure, it's fine. If you don't have enough, so borrow against something that you have. But if you really don't have, you have nothing to borrow against, you have no requirement to go and just borrow money without a plan to pay back. Not only that, but he goes on and he says, what about getting money from the community fund? Okay, every city, every town has a fund to help the needy, the poor people. Yeah, not just the gemach. There's a gemach which is lending money, but then there is a fund to give people money to live. Not lending, it's giving. Okay. Now, let's say a person doesn't have anything he can afford. He wants to take money from the fund, right? Which distributes money every Erev Shabbos. He should not take. if you don't have to take money for your food for the coming week, the way it worked was every Friday they would distribute funds. People would give a whole week, and Friday the gabbai or the attendant, the one that was in charge, would distribute money. They still have a concept like that today for those that need. But the system was, if he needs for the coming week money, they would give them this week. Okay. Now, you're a person, or someone's a person, who can't afford extra food for Shabbos, and he has nothing to borrow against. We said you have no requirement to go borrow money. Don't go to the community fund and take money from there if you're not taking for the week. In other words, if you have enough food for the week, you just don't have enough for Shabbos, or for the extras of Shabbos, you're not allowed to take from there. He says like this. Mr. X, well, let's call him David, okay? David has enough money for 14 meals for the coming week. There's a morning meal and an evening meal. I guess lunch was extra, okay? Now, or a breakfast and a lunch. Now, you can't just go to the fund and say, I need money. If you have enough food for a week of food, you can't just come and ask them for money. So what you decided, it's Shabbos. Shabbos, there's a concept, a mitzvah to have a third meal. I want to get money from charity for that. The rule is you're not allowed to. Okay?
So, Sheni v'chamishi?
No, you have, every day.
Sheni v'chamishi, he's got to make, a fast, to have on Shabbos.
Skip a day of eating, right? Okay. No, but the idea is that it's very important to clarify that enjoying Shabbos is very important, and you can even borrow money, but responsible borrowing. It's money that you have, it's just not liquid. You're borrowing against something. You don't know how you're going to pay back. Hashem's going to take care of it. But you didn't just borrow without any idea irresponsibly. And not only that, there's a fund available for poor people. You can't take money from that fund if you have enough money for food for 2 meals a day for the next 14 days. You can't take any money from there. It's meant for poor people. But what if a person says, I have to have a third meal on Shabbos? That's the mitzvah, 3 meals. You still cannot take. If you have 2, you can't take from charity money for that. That's not considered to be a necessity to the extent that allows taking charity money to use. Okay? The kol shekain, and of course, and of course, if you want to take a little bit more just to enjoy more than during the week, you're not allowed to take from the general fund, the community fund, the Shavazu. Here's what our sages said, and it's an extremely powerful statement. You should rather make your Shabbos mundane, meaning the meals on Shabbos was just like the meals on Wednesday, but as long, and don't go to people asking them for money. So taking charity is something someone needs. Someone needs, there's a fund, every community has, you have to help them. But the extras for Shabbos, although you could borrow if you have what to borrow against, and although it's very important, and the reward for enjoying Shabbos is extremely big. We said it forgives you all your sins. And you get saved from Gehenna, from hell, and it's a tremendous benefit.
So how about just to Lamit, B'meshech HaShavua, and Shabbos,
Okay, so I hear what you're saying.
Yes, if yes, for food for all the week, so you know what, don't eat two pieces of bread, one.
Okay, he was very specific though. He said, the Rebbe says, if you have enough food for 2 meals a day,
yeah,
for 14 days. Okay, so this person clearly is on the borderline of poverty, and the question is he eligible from the fund? I think that those 2 meals a day that he has is probably bare minimum, and I don't think we could tell him skip a meal. He's not eating a third meal. He's eating only twice a day. He's not having snacks. He's not having lunch. So what's he going to do now? Are you going to tell him, shave off a little bit of your bread and save it for Shabbos? And even the meals that he has
during the week, because he's buying every day, a little bread or something like that. Lachmania.
Right. So I think he's probably buying the cheapest bread, is what I'm saying. Cheapest type of food. And even if he was to skip one, it wouldn't necessarily be enough for the exchange. But either way, we're talking about a case where he doesn't have that it doesn't work for him, this concept. He just doesn't have the money for it. But the Chachamim say, Asay Shabbat Chachol, Al Testarech LaBriyos. Our sages advise or tell us, direct us. better have a little bit simpler Shabbos and don't go to people asking them to help you money-wise. So on the one hand, it's extremely important. On the other hand, there's a way that it's done. Okay, I just want to summarize what we said here. There are two things regarding Shabbos. There's kavod and eineg. Kavod, honoring Shabbos, respect of Shabbos, is clean clothing. And pleasure of Shabbos is food and drink. There's two opinions. The first opinion that he brings is that they're both biblical. The pleasure on Shabbos is biblical. But there's a Yesh Emrim that says that what does it mean to sanctify? Sanctify Shabbos means refraining from certain activities. That would be considered to be sanctifying Shabbos. But the pleasure of Shabbos, that's only midrabanan, that's only rabbinic. But he cautions, do not take it lightly. It's rabbinic, but we're very careful about rabbinic things. Then we discussed how do you bring pleasure to Shabbos? How do you enjoy Shabbos? Food and drink, what does it mean? So he said that different types of people will enjoy different types of things in different ways. But normally, meat and wine is a pleasure for a person. But each place according to its thing. At times in the Gemara, he said it was fish, a certain large fish that they had. And he tells us the reward to get involved in preparing for Shabbos, in enjoying Shabbos, and a lot of dishes, items for Shabbos, and so on. We will mitzvah continue tomorrow.
So what should I do? 3.5 years I don't eat meat because the shita.
It's a great point. If somebody is bothered by meat, for whatever reason, whether it's the level of kashrus, of course, or it damages his health, he was very clear that for most people, for a typical person, that is considered to be pleasurable. But it doesn't mean that. But if it's bothering you and it's the opposite of pleasure, it defeats the purpose.
On Shabbos by the Mashiach, I was there. They brought some chont, and I don't eat meat. So they says maybe a little soup or something like that, from that without meat. And I says, don't talk to me about seor be'isa.